The other day, my wife asked me to go to a grocery shop and give me instructions that I grab a liter of milk, and if they have eggs, get a dozen. And happily, I came back with 12 liters of milk. And my wife asked me, "Why 12 liters of milk?" And in a surprise, I said, "Of course, because they had eggs." Ah, of course, you got the joke, right? Uh, Here, clearly, the instructions were confusing, right? So it says a liter of milk, and if they have eggs, should I get a dozen of eggs or a dozen of milk? And it confuses people like me. Maybe I was not paying attention or I was not intelligent enough. Having said that, what if you give the same prompt to your LLM models? And of course, it can be confusing and it can give some random results, right? So it's very important that we give the right instructions to our, you know, LLM models uh, or AI models so that you can get the expected output. And there has been a lot of engineering behind what is the right question that we should ask so that we can get a correct answer. So there is huge amount of efforts that are being put into something called as prompt engineering, and it's a field of study by itself. People are coming up with very creative prompts, very creative phases that can help you get great results even with not very large models. Um, if you go to Wikipedia and ask what prompt engineering is, basically it's a one line statement or definition. It's the process of structuring text that can be interpreted and understood by generative AI models. So today I'm going to talk more about prompt engineering, and we'll try to see uh, taking some bad examples and some good examples, and take the best out of models. Let's go ahead. So there are multiple techniques of asking right questions. Some of them, there are many people who have written great stuff. I have picked something which I came across and I thought they're good enough to talk about. So I listed around 18 or 20 of them. I'm not going to go through all of it, but some which are quite obvious and you can uh, improve the outcomes of your LLMs quite drastically. So let's go one by one. Um, Avoiding ambiguity, as I said, ask very clear instructions rather than the one which I have given you as in an example. So let's go to ChatGPT and see. Let's see what does it gives me. Milk or 12 eggs. Of course, it will know, but as I said, it's quite fun. Instead of milk and eggs, what if I would have said, I want to assemble a computer and I want 8 cores of CPU, and if they have GPU, add 5. What will you do? Will you add 5 cores of GPU or 5 cores of CPU? You know, so instead it's better for you to write, I want to have 8 cores of CPU, and if you have GPU, please add 5 cores of GPU and things like that. Okay, so it's very important that you give clear, non-ambiguous instructions to your large language model, in this case ChatGPT. Let's go to the next one. We should be asking explicit, or we should be giving an explicit instructions to our language model. State what you want it to do. in a very precise and direct language. So instead of saying, tell me about new climate thing, uh, it will give all possible knowledge of the world, which may not be very relevant for you, right? Instead, what you should be doing is you should ask very specifically about a given paper or a given methodologies in a research and stuff like that. That can give you very precise outcome that will be useful for your purpose. Okay, the next instructions I would say is um, role play, um, where you want your model to act, to take a particular role or act like a persona, and then you can shape your output accordingly. So for example, if you ask about a solar system, um, it may give any output, or in this example, let's ask it about uh, carbonara, right? For example, I don't know what carbonara is, but let's ask, explain how to make carbonara. uh, Please follow these tips, blah blah blah. And of course, uh, yeah, sorry, that's my day limit. Let's wait for a second. Yeah, most likely it's quite general. Take some ingredients, cook pasta, and things like that. But what if you want it to be very specific? Come on. Yeah. So now you want to ask your LLM to be, you want him to be a chef, an Italian chef working for a Michelin star restaurant, and give you the ingredients and steps. So it would be very, oh, come on, not today. Okay. Yeah. Can you see that you can get a very precise outcome in a given particular format, to the point? Okay. As I said, maybe we are of course interested in outcomes, but I just wanted to showcase you how the outcome changes depending upon what instructions do you give him. So here you'll see that outcome is much better and more towards a given persona, or to the flavor of uh, being that role play model. Okay, so let's talk about um, constraints. Many a times when you ask vague questions, we get vague answers. So, for example, if I ask him to tell a story, um, there are million ways it can write it for you, um, but you have a particular theme in your mind that you want a result in, right? So for example, if I ask the same prompt again, it will go in a very different direction, and that's not what I want, right? So I can give it quite precise restrictions. So for example, I want the story to be for children, a bedtime story, or a story within few words, and things like that, depending upon your use case. So maybe we can try and make it a better prompt. Let's say we want a story for a kid. uh, we want it to be just 300 words. We want it to be about a magical forest, right? So, and you'll see, um, it kind of defines itself within the given you know constraints. So see, it talks more about forests, and of course it will also have some you know values for sharing, right? Yeah, that's good. So when you want your outcome to have a to perform within the restrictions, I think it's much better that you already provide it as part of your prompt. Okay. Next one is Socratic method. Basically, I would put it as, you know, five whys in corporate terms, right? So you say this is happening and why, and then there would be a follow-up answer, and then you ask why, and then there would be a follow-up answers, right? Until you get very precise to root cause analysis or something like that. And it's again very similar format where you say, okay, just give me a health tip. Instead, you ask a precise question, and then you ask a follow-up question and another follow-up question and things like that until you drill down to your exact requirement. I'll not showcase this one. I'll be sharing the slide already at later point of time in comments, so you can download it. But of course, that is another technique, or that is another prompt engineering technique that you can incorporate to get best out of your model. Let's skip this one. Yeah. So the next one is, for example, you ask your kid, a 5-year-old, and you ask him how much is 3 plus 3, and then the kid may not know, and then you say, okay, to do this you have to take 3 fingers on your left hand side, 3 fingers on your right hand side, and now count them. So you gave them an example, and now the next question you ask is, okay, tell me now how much is 4 plus 4. And most likely the kid is gonna take 4 fingers on his left hand side, 4 fingers on his right hand side, and he's gonna give you an answer, right? So um, when LLM doesn't know the answer, you teach him by example. This is normally called as one-shot learning. So you give one example and you tell them, please copy the example and give me the answer. And this is very prominent and very effective technique to get best out of LLMs. So of course, when we say one shot, then there has to be a zero shot and there has to be a few shot or multi-shot, right? So zero shot is asking a plain question that we normally do, how much is 2 plus 2, or what is capital of uh, the United States of America, or how many people live in America, India, and things like that. So that's a zero shot question. One shot would be, as I said, give him one example. Let's try to do that, this one shot example. So for example, as I said, what is the capital of India? Okay, but I want it to be, what is capital of India, and I want answer to be in, for example, just JSON format. So I say capital, and I want new and country India. And now I say question, what is capital of France. And see, we got an answer um, in a given format. So it kind of copies my example and tries to give me answer in a given example. So this is quite effective when you want output in a given specific format, or you want it to, as I said, do some complex calculations or complex task, not too complex, but little bit more complex than one word answers. And few shot, of course, would be giving more uh, examples. So just why would you give more than one example? Isn't one example more than enough? So for example, uh, if I give a series, first number in the series is 2, second number in the series is 4, what is the third number? So for example, 2 and then 4, what is the next number, right? And it can be anything, right? So maybe addition of 2, so 2, 4, 6, 8 can be the series, or it can be multiple of 2's. So for example, 2 into 2, 4, 4 into 2, 8. It can be anything, right? So it's better that instead of giving just one example, after 2 it's 4, let's try to give 2 or more examples, right? So 2, 4, 6, and then it will take 8. So the whole idea here is maybe just one example many times is not enough. You'll have to give more than one example, and that is called as few shot learning. Okay. The next one is chain of thought. It's getting very popular nowadays. Many complex mathematical questions have been answered using chain of thought prompts. People have been using it to solve quadratic equations. People have been using it to solve um, multi steps problem, and it's proving to be quite powerful. I mean, even model as small as 70 billion are competing against 540 billion parameter language models just by using chain of thought prompting. So if you just ask him, solve a quadratic equation, it may hallucinate and it can give you many wrong answers. But if you try and tell him, please walk me through a step-by-step process of solving equation, it will actually try to give you the appropriate answer. So let's see if we can get a correct answer using chain of thoughts. So can you see that it's trying to replicate the thought process? How would you solve from problem A to B, and then B to C, and C to things like that? It will go one step after another, and it will arrive at a given answer. Yeah, I don't know, should we wait for it to solve the problem? But you're getting the point, right? The point here is uh, you can use the word like walk me through step, or go step by step, um, uh, or follow a procedure and things like that, and it will do so. Yeah, here we are. So I think you really need to give more focus on this particular technique, where you can solve many problems that we normally think computer or LLM will not be able to do so. The next one I is negative prompting. So this is a good one. It's kind of similar to you know which one, the not explicit refinement, but where is that one? Putting some constraints, but little bit different. So for example, you explicitly tell that I really do not want a particular information to be there. Please, exclude that one. So when I ask about, for example, tell me something about a dog, it will write a 5 pages of essay, right? But where I specifically tell him, please do not tell me anything about dog's breed or history or something like that. Um, so for a fact that that particular information will be taken out. So let's try to see if we can use that particular information. So tell me about dogs. Yeah, and then sign. Yeah, it will write a long essay, right? Because it knows a lot of things about dogs and cats for sure, because of all the YouTube videos and uh, you know all the things that have been there up in internet. But if you ask it very very specifically, uh, I think, and then you say, okay, please do not tell me about breeds and things like that. Yeah, this comes quite handy when you want to restrict or you want to eliminate some specific information about being very general about it. The next one is funny and sometimes can be dangerous as well. So I'll just give an example. This example is very specific to India. Please excuse me if you think it's not funny enough. So uh, if a Indian mom asks a kid or her son to get a red label in the morning from a shop, most likely you're going to go and bring a red label tea, right? But if your dad is asking you to get red label in the evening, you're going to go to a liquor shop and get Johnny Walker red label, right? So yeah, it's the same prompt, but depending upon who asks it, what culture it is, you're gonna have a different answer to it, right? So for example, explain me the significance of 4th of July, and there is a very clear-cut assumption that it's coming from some American guy talking about uh, American holiday and blah blah blah. But then you really want to get rid of that cultural and contextual sensitivity. I think you should be explicitly uh, telling about it in your context or in your prompts. I believe you guys can make use of these techniques to ask better questions to LLM and get the best out of the prompts. Um, until now, we had been learning so many things in pockets, one single technique at a time. And then maybe going forward, starting next week or something like that, we'll try to put everything together and we'll try to come up with some practical uh, application that we can use uh, and we can build on top of large language models or generative AI. Um, we'll do that journey starting from next week. As always, if you have any questions, queries, concerns, please feel free to put them in comment and I'll try my best to answer them. Until then, have a nice day, nice afternoon, nice evening. Ciao, bye.